The alley door.
Which is funnier, a milkman or a wet nurse?
Izaiah leaned over his green notebook, pencil in hand, chewing its end, which was nearly gnawed to a nub, as he struggled to perfect the joke he'd been stewing over for longer than he'd ever admit.
There's a winner in here. I know it.
His mind made up, he scribbled.
Definitely milkman.
A tired sigh passed through his old, chapped lips. Writing jokes was tiring work. He traded the pencil for a silver spoon immersed in a glass boat next to the notebook, with 6 scoops of ice cream, each a different flavor, and took a bite. The custom sundae creation was his third this afternoon. Making a yummy sound, he closed his eyes and enjoyed the cold, sweet treat. Even the greatest chefs of on earth, and all their wondrous culinary creations, packed with all their flavor and nutrients, were minuscule contrivances in the awesome face of human ice cream. Looking around the blue-walled, yellow and white trimmed soda shop in Prescott, Arizona, he couldn't help tapping his toe to the 20th century American rock and roll. A close silver medal to sundaes as far as human achievements went, playing on an orange and brown jukebox in the corner. The walls were adorned in all matter of crazy, pseudo-decorative crap. Decades-old soda pop ads, license plates, fake wanted posters from the Old West, Polaroids of necklace regulars, and for some odd reason, scads of cruiser and mountain bike parts.
There are at least 5 used bike seats on these walls.
He flipped to a blank page and wrote that down.
Might be a joke in there somewhere.
After scooping the last bite out of the boat, Izaiah let loose with a burp, a bit louder than he planned.
Whoops!
Passing gas was the original joke as far as he was concerned, but Americans could be touchy about such things. The sole administrator of the soda shop, Amanda, a local teenager with glasses the color of ripe avocado, looked up. The belch had interrupted her chat with some friends in a booth in the corner.
As long as I have her attention.
Izaiah lifted a pointed finger.
Excuse me, miss?
Amanda gave her friends the 1-second gesture and trotted over. Can I help you?
Yes, I seem to have misplaced my ice cream.
Looks like it. Should I find you another? What did you call it? Rainbow sundae? She gave an awkward laugh, trying not to reveal her braces with bright green rubber bands. Izaiah could tell she was doing her best to be cordial. Sometimes he forgot what he looked and smelled like.
Yes, please. And you don't have to worry about me and money, or anything. I can pay.
He pulled soiled, crumpled bills from his pocket and held them out like river water cupped in his hands.
See?
Amanda gave half a smile before hurrying away. He stuffed the money in his pockets and checked his watch again. 3:30.
They're late.
Not late enough to panic, but enough to worry him slightly. He busied himself by glancing over the soda shop patrons. Besides the teenagers, there was an older couple sharing a scoop of raspberry sorbet who had been reduced to sparring with their spoons for the last bites. When the scoop was gone, the woman laid her head on the man's shoulder as they licked their spoons clean. Like every other human in Prescott, and on the planet, they too were blissfully unaware of what had transpired on the other side of the world just a few nights before. For that, Izaiah was grateful. All of life had nearly ended, twice, but to them, the stars had twinkled and the sun had risen exactly the way it always had, unaware two of their own were to thank for it. Izaiah hoped Alex and Bennett would show. He still felt sick thinking of how things had been left between him and his human comrades in Africa. They hated him. He knew it. How could they not? Not an hour had gone by that he wasn't tortured remembering the look on Alex's face the moment Melissa was taken from him. The teacher's eyes hadn't budged, hadn't blinked, not even when tears began to stream down his face. Then he fell.
And I was there to see it.
All sense of Alex Barker had vanished once the ire arrived. The fireball of godlike fury nearly vaporized every creature present at the mouth of Gehenna before disappearing into the mountain, leaving the Medolians to deal with the remaining possessed Ailey clan. The demons then fled into the night, free of their master's bondage.
They were the smart ones.
And the Medolians set to work containing the ever-expanding inferno. However, the ire handily lived up to its legend as an unstoppable force. When Izaiah witnessed Bennett march into the fire, he thought he was seeing a suicide. But when the wall of red flame crumbled, and the night became quiet and still, two figures somehow remained. Izaiah and the others arrived to find Alex having trouble coming to grips with reality and vehemently protecting Bennett, who was clinging to life. The teacher soon settled, and all trace of the unstoppable ire was gone. But the area would not stay deserted for long. Everyone in Unearth had felt what transpired that night. There would be questions. This was going to be what humans referred to as big news. After securing Bennett on a makeshift stretcher, Izaiah shifted the team away, leaving Galinthia and Fabian behind to lead relief efforts. They had a list of instructions to ensure certain tracks were covered, while also making sure certain sentry protocols were technically adhered to. One Medolian was usually enough to supervise an emergency situation on Earth or in Trivium, so he hoped the show of force and solidarity on their part would buy them some time before the Senate's legal authorities, the counselors, came calling. Luckily, Galinthia was never one to turn down a chance to be devious or to lie at the behest of her boss. Accompanied by Felix and Mara, Izaiah escorted Alex and Bennett to a Medolian safe house on Earth. It happened to be his favorite, designated the Hen House for its box-like design, built with aged cedar planks dyed a rich brown, immersed within the forests of British Columbia near the border of Alberta, a few miles west of the Peace River. Surprisingly, it was Mara who dressed Bennett's wounds and ground Highwill root for tea.
Never even seen her help an old human across the street, let alone try to heal a young one.
The herb, brought to Earth from the fields of Highwill and Highwin, was dense with rapturous fiber, primarily used to heal citizens and former citizens of the Celestial Realm. The only question was if Bennett were far enough along in his transformation to be healed by the tea, rather than poisoned by it. Things were touch and go for a while, but Mr. Hunter's eyes cracked open just in time to witness the dazzling red light of the sun strike the peaks of the Rocky Mountains in the west, lowering on their face as morning rose over Canada. "Cool," was all he said. The fellas were fed with the only unspoiled food in the hen house, the same dried biscuits Izaiah provided them in the desert safe house. Delo cookies. Based on their reactions, the humans were apparently disgusted by what Izaiah had always found a delightful, crunchy snack. Once convinced they would need to eat in order to regain their strength, each ate a half of one. Escorting them later to Prescott, once Bennett was well enough to move, Izaiah questioned if he was doing the right thing. He forbade the humans from revealing their plans to him, in case he were questioned as to their whereabouts sooner than later, and offered his services one last time.
If you want to go out on your own and try to make it, I won't stop you. Not going to take away another chance for either of you to have normal lives. But if you want to come with me, the door is open. Or window. No, door. Just know there are sacrifices that come with either choice. Word will spread fast, and now that everyone's worst fears have been confirmed, the ire is real. They'll be searching for it. Not just the Senate and its agents, including the Medolians. Every gang in society of Unearth will be seeking Alex. Rest assured, there are plenty of places to hide. The world of Eve is mighty immense. Who knows? We might even have a little fun along the way.
Neither Alex nor Bennett would commit to the proposal, citing they needed time, which Izaiah had expected.
Totally fine. Though I have to warn you both, keep your eaves low. Low as possible.
He then advised they get whatever affairs they needed to in order, and, if they wanted to come along, to meet him at the soda shop on Friday at 3 p.m. Izaiah then shifted away, unsure if he would ever see the teacher or soldier again. The following 2 days had been filled with nothing but unearthed committee hearings and formal Senate inquiries. With nearly 1/3 of the tribunal reduced to rubble, one of Trivium's wealthiest citizens, Randall Malm, formerly of the Archfiend clan Malm, had stepped in, allowing proceedings to resume temporarily in the great hall of his compound, Milios, the largest thresh distillery in Unearth. Randall was a consummate politician and industrialist, and it had long been common knowledge that he was after Eros's seat in the Senate, whether admitted to publicly or not. Currently, the position was held by Ariel Van Mortis, formerly of Clan Vostros, who did not appear intimidated in the least by the change of setting. As the highest-ranking Senate official of Eros, second in power only to Lucifer Avail himself, Van Mortis possessed a hard temper and the slippery tongue of a serpent, both figuratively and literally. In the 2,000 years since her appointment, she hadn't lost an election, and carried near boundless reverence within the Senate, all of which did little to stall Mulm or his lofty ambitions, leading to a famous, centuries-old rivalry between him and Van Mortis that neither seemed keen to resign. Attending only enough formal inquiries to keep up appearances, Izaiah sent letters of profuse apology for his coming absence in the remainder. Political hearings exhausted him. Often, he'd doze off in a corner, only to jolt awake, usually interrupting some stuffy Nashwin noble, citing that creatures weren't being sensuous enough with one another, or a scythe lord with stage fright speaking too softly to be taken earnestly. Yet this was only the tip of the iceberg, and Izaiah had already run out of ways to skirt questions about the locations of the humans, a term the citizens of Unearth had taken to saying with the same tenor in which one usually referred to the economy during a recession. He checked his watch again. 3:44.
Hope I'm not wasting my time.
Amanda returned with sundae number 4 and a fresh spoon. Found one.
M'lady?
Izaiah tipped the brim of a make-believe hat. Before diving in, he took a packet of Red Hots from his pocket, crumpled the candies, and sprinkled the spicy cinnamon dust over the multicolored sundae.
Now we're talking.
He was halfway through the new treat when the front door buzzed, and a large man wearing a long-sleeved shirt and jeans, with tattoos poking out of every corner, entered. The other customers grew nervous in his presence, their eaves turning the slightest shade of dread. Izaiah almost didn't recognize Bennett, who'd shaved his scruffy mane, and appeared to have taken a shower, gaining a healthy bit of approachability. The soldier found Izaiah and marched to the table, pausing to let Amanda go by with a tray of sodas for her friends. Sliding out from the booth, Izaiah welcomed him.
"Look at this guy."
The soldier's polite smile sagged for the Medolian. Based on his body language, Izaiah let go of any notions of a hug. "Hello, Izaiah," Bennett said, sliding into the booth. "Sorry I'm late. I walked."
"What happened to the truck?"
"Gave it away." Bennett began flipping through the milkshake menu on his right. Izaiah sat.
"I'm shocked. To whom?"
"Still don't know her real name. Goes by Autumn." Isaiah's head naturally sank at the thought of the young woman.
"So, you found her?"
"I drove by her old spot, not expecting much, but she was there. I tried to make amends, but she didn't give two shits. Totally fine. I wouldn't either. Even told me I hit softer than her 96-year-old nanny. Pretty good. Anyways, I asked her if there was anything I could do. First, she said I could kill myself. When I told her I tried that already, she said she wanted the truck. Just trying to jerk me around, probably. But I said sure. Got out, left the keys in the ignition. Been walking since. Gotta admit, getting face to face with her was a lot harder than losing the truck. But her expression when she realized it was worth it.
"I think you did the right thing."
"Yeah, well, a truck's not much use to someone with warrants out for their arrest in multiple parallel universes." That got Izaiah stirring in his seat.
"Does this mean you've chosen to accept my offer? Ooh, you won't regret it. I promise." No more promises. "But I swear."
Bennett gave him the pump the brakes motion. "I haven't agreed to anything yet. If what you said is true, and people will be coming after Al, I need to be there with him. If he doesn't show today, I may need your help finding him. God knows what might happen if somebody else gets to him before we do." Amanda shuffled up to the table and took out her notebook, making minimal eye contact with Bennett. "Hi, can I get you anything?" "I'm very hungry, yes. What do you have in the way of meal-ish food?" "We've got mostly like candy and ice cream. That's kind of the theme. But I don't know if you have like a sweet tooth or, we have like hot dogs and waffles and stuff. We don't have like a grill, but I could microwave some stuff if you want." Her cheeks were flushing red. "Perfect. May I have 8 hot dogs and 8 waffles, please? Lots of butter and extra syrup. If you added sprinkles, I would not be ungrateful. Thank you," Bennett said. Amanda scribbled into and pocketed her notebook. Sure thing. Give me a minute." She ran off with urgency at what was surely a monumental task.
"I'm surprised you and Alex didn't arrive together,"
Izaiah said. Bennett nodded as he took a glance around the place. "Said he had some things to do. I think he just wanted to be alone for a bit. I don't like it, but I get it. Just hope he's okay."
"I'm sure he's doing as well as he can."
"Couldn't tell what was going on with him the last day, to tell you the truth. What the fuck kind of help can I be, right? I mean, to a person who went through something like that?" There was a silence. Bennett cracked his knuckles and folded his hands on the table. "Sorry."
"It's fine. Any anger coming my way is well deserved. If there's anyone to blame for all this, it's me."
"Don't be ridiculous. There is someone to blame. Always is. The trigger man. Unfortunately, when things like this happen, those people tend not to live to see repercussions. They're the cowards. It's the survivors who have to live with the horrible shit other people do. You're not to blame. Joseph is. And I'd be a poor excuse for a rapture user if I didn't admit I've done my fair share of lying for the greater good. Done a lot of shitty things in the name of good, actually. Just part of being human, I guess. Or whatever you are.
I may be Medolian, but I live on the same planet as you. Just because I'm not born like other people doesn't mean I don't walk these streets. Don't enjoy the culture.
How the hell are you born, Izzy? A flash went off in Isaiah's mind.
Izzy? Was that a nickname?
No one had ever called him that before. All his life he'd hoped for a nickname, and now that he had one, he didn't know what to do with it. The Medolian's heart fluttered, making it hard to keep his cool.
Don't be uncool now. People with nicknames stay cool. Don't spoil it.
Izaiah,
Izzy,
leaned back, nice and cool.
If you must know, we're basically born from a flash of light once an energy quota's been filled. Which I admit is pretty much the most agamic way of reproducing possible. But still.
He laughed, then took a somber turn he himself wasn't expecting.
When I look in the mirror, I don't see a Bobon or a Celestial or a Lostros. I see an old, ugly man with wrinkles carved into his face and a mess of hair in the crack of his ass. As human as anybody else in this town.
Bennett grinned. Good enough for me.
In so many ways, and I hate to say it, I see Chloe's point of view,
Izaiah said.
We Medolians, let's just say it's a rough gig. I mean, human uprisings, religious cults, rogue government factions. The Senate even put our branch in charge of human corporate oversight. I mean, really? What do I know about computers or stocks or gizmos or email banking? Whatever the hell that is. I mean, 4 Medolians even stopped a nuclear warhead from exploding in a populated area once. Just barely. Oh yeah, a fantastic tale to be sure, but also terrifying. 1949, I think. You'll have to ask Izaiah about it sometime. You'll meet her soon. She's great. The point is, when a Medolian is born, they're given a choice. Serve the tribunal and keep the balance, or accept banishment from on Earth forever. You might be surprised how many choose the latter.
Not a great deal.
No, but most of us grow to accept it. I don't have much choice because there aren't any other elders left. None as active centuries, anyhow. I'm the last to have seen Unos. Only Mara and I came home from the Battle of Dimuneris. Luckily, she and I both live for the job. But the others, they didn't ask for this life. I don't condone what Chloe did. Lord knows I'm going to carry her actions with me to the end of my days. But she was never meant to keep others in line. She wanted to be free. We tried to cage her, and she said no.
Izaiah realized he was gazing out the window like a doe-eyed teen at the brown and red mountains in the distance, and snapped back to the moment.
I'm sorry. Where was I?
Nowhere, Bennett said. Just know everything is okay.
Splendid!
Amanda arrived balancing a waffle and hot dog, each with their own plate, and a syrup dispenser caddy with 4 different flavors. Something Izaiah always found odd, considering no one ever used the other 3 flavors. Just maple. Sorry. I didn't want these to get cold. Should I Yes, perfect. Keep 'em coming. You're an angel. Bennett made room for the spread, tucking a napkin into his shirt. Amanda set down the plates and reached into her apron pocket for a bottle of sprinkles, getting a hearty laugh out of Bennett, who even clapped. Thank you. She laughed along, having no idea this was the same man who'd likely terrified her dozens of times when she'd taken out the garbage, with his mangled beard, daytime naps, and liquored-up grunts and gurgles. The man across from Izaiah brought none of that weight through the soda shop door. This man's Eve was as light as air, and as strong as granite. Do you want, some extra syrup? Amanda asked. Yes, thank you, Bennett said. I could also get you, more butter, or ketchup, or mustard. We have, some relish in the back. Bennett waved away the offers with a grin and a hearty laugh. No, I couldn't be better. What's your name? Amanda Hodgins, she said with sudden gusto, no longer afraid to show off her braces. Thank you, Amanda Hodgins. As long as you keep a train of hot dogs and waffles headed my way, I'll be the happiest camper ever. And, on second thought, may I please have a root beer float? Got a sudden sweet tooth. You got it. Amanda hurried behind the counter. Bennett turned his attention to the plates. The hot dog was gone in 2 bites.
We've talked about Alex. Now how about Bennett?
Izaiah said. Bennett answered while chewing, spitting bits of bun onto his plate.
What about Bennett? What's he been doing with his time back?
Bennett swallowed. Does it matter? Izaiah watched him douse his waffles in syrup, happily avoiding any serious inquiry.
You know, that was a very brave thing you did for Alex. In Africa.
Someone had to do something.
Someone did. You.
Where are you going with this? Sprinkles were heartily applied. Izaiah sighed, deciding to move on.
I went by the gas station. Wasn't there anymore.
Bennett folded the waffle like a taco and ate the front half. Syrup and sprinkles drizzled out the back. That's 'cause I burned it to the ground.
So that's where all the black ash and cinder came from.
Yeah. She went up quick, too. Dad and his cheap-ass materials. Also, box after box of bogus receipts. If you ever need shitty money laundering advice, look up my old man.
Oh? And where is he?
6 feet underground. Died 5 years ago. Izaiah could sense a calmness and clarity in Bennett, and a genuine confidence, far removed from the false bravado he had grown accustomed to.
How'd it feel? The burning of the station, I mean.
Revelatory. Bennett closed shop on the waffle, licking his fingers, and finished with a monstrous burp.
Atta boy. I'm not normally one to promote arson, but seeing as it was your property, and looks to have done you some good.
Not my property anymore. Bennett pulled a stack of papers from his back pocket and slapped them on the table. Izaiah read them over.
You transferred the title to your nephew?
Cody gets the plot next year when he turns 18. As long as he keeps his scholarships and maintains a few academic honors. There's no name on the form. He won't know where it came from. He can sell it, develop it, whatever. Kid's smart as shit. not a loser. Hopefully it'll give him a head start. About time somebody from this family does.
I take it this means you saw him?
Izaiah asked. I always knew where he ended up off 89, north of Flagstaff. Nice couple took him in, name of Jones. Always knew. Never had the guts to go see him, which is exactly why it's better he never knew me. As we recently learned, I don't have a great track record influencing the youth. He was adopted pretty quick after my old man gave him to the state. Put him in the system. Just 2 years old when it happened. So they're the only family Cody's ever known.
Did you go?
I drove out there, sat outside for a bit, checked things out. Wonderfully boring place, but no, didn't go up to the door.
If you think that's best, though if I may say, Bennett, you're not a detriment. People make mistakes. Lives fall off the track. I've seen it, time and again. The difference is if someone wants to get better or not. If they want to push past their mistakes. If you have ghosts that haunt you, it means you're still alive. And things can change.
Can't change what I did to Jerry, or his boyfriend Ryan, or Cody.
No, but I doubt your brother would like to hear you say these things.
You didn't know Jer.
That's both true and not.
Bennett stopped chewing. What are you talking about?
When I went to the Sirius to ask for help finding the humans for the Joseph mandate, I didn't just look into Mason's past. I also saw yours. Once a soul on Earth has been released, Ileana can see its Eve as it passes into Unearth, revealing the lives of the dead. She found your brother's Eve. I saw your life through his eyes. I know what Tony, your father, did to both of you. He was a cold, cruel man. I felt how fiercely Jerry wanted to protect you, but always felt he couldn't. Like he wasn't good enough. Wasn't strong enough.
Jer thought that? Izaiah nodded.
When he left home, it wasn't because of you. He never hated you. He did what he did to find a way out. For both of you. When he passed, I'm sure you thought going to war in his place was the only answer. It was the only way to get away from your father. Remember, he brought hate into your home. He was too ashamed of his son to help raise his grandson. His Eve was nothing but grief and dread. Jerry would never have blamed you for what happened to Cody, and never stopped loving you. Trust me.
I appreciate what you're saying, and thank you, but... Bennett's eyes were glued to the table. Izaiah could feel his rapture flaring. Solid, fully integrated into his being. I'm done making excuses for the bad things I've done. Cody is my biggest regret, in a life full of them. And I'm gonna have to learn to live with that. Sooner the better. Izaiah held back a smile.
He's found it. Always knew he would.
Bennett grew quiet as Amanda arrived with a new plate, this time with 2 waffles and 2 hot dogs, and an overflowing root beer float. Thank the Eve. This looks wonderful, Bennett said. Amanda giggled confusedly.
If it's not too much trouble, miss, may I?
Izaiah held out his empty sundae dish. Going for 5? She asked.
Please,
he answered with a scrunch of his nose. Amanda disappeared into the kitchen just as the front door opened. The teenagers in the corner suddenly became deathly quiet, as a short, dark figure entered the soda shop. A hood was pulled over their face. Though it was nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, Alex Barker looked ready to shiver, drowning in a sweatshirt 3 sizes too big. The teacher shuffled through the shop as Izaiah rose to greet him. He spotted scabbed over skin on burnt cheeks underneath the hood, beneath a pair of downcast eyes dotted with a faint orange glow. Alex ignored Izaiah and nodded at Bennett, who rose to let him into the booth.
Alex, I'm so glad you could come. You look well,
Izaiah said. Alex kept quiet as he slid to the wall and slumped into himself, hands in the coat's pockets, hood low. Bennett offered him a sip of his float, which Alex waved off, holding his stomach like the thought of it made him sick. Amanda exited the kitchen and hurried over to drop off Izaiah's new sundae.
Oh, hi. We have a new friend. Is there anything I can...
She stopped, having just gotten a glimpse under Alex's hood.
Get you? Sorry, I don't mean to stare, mister.
When Alex coughed, it sounded like a cloud of dust was expelled. His whispering voice was not only hoarse, but also as sharp as jagged rock and gritty as sand.
Water, please.
Amanda smiled like she would to any other customer, exclaimed, "Sure thing," and hurried off. "Probably thinks you're a burn victim," said Bennett. Alex coughed out a laugh, wincing, holding his side, and returning to his sullen demeanor before muttering, "Can we make this quick?" Izaiah nodded.
I will. But before we get to why we're here, I wanted to ask about Melissa's funeral. Did it go well? I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it. They would have surely followed me.
Bennett nodded, answering for Alex. "It was nice. What little we could see, anyways. Unfortunately, had to keep our distance. Weather was good. Beautiful spot. She's buried at the top of the hill, under a large oak, right beside Al's tombstone."
Seems only proper,
Izaiah said, keeping an eye on Alex, whose Eve was surprisingly placid. Amanda dropped off waters for the table, and Bennett asked her to bring back a couple of pitchers. Alex reached for a glass, revealing a red hand speckled with dark scabs. Bennett continued, "Of course, Patty is too young to remember any of this, which is for the best. She's living with Melissa's sister, Rachel, for now. They're good people. She'll be taken care of. Have a nice life. And deep down, her parents will always be with her." Bennett finished his current helping of waffles as Amanda dropped off the rest of his order. He proceeded to make it disappear as Alex pulled glass after glass of water under his hood, returning them empty. Izaiah grew nervous asking his next question, unsure if he might set either of them off.
And the man? From the night the scars appeared?
Alex's dejected eyes drifted to Bennett, who again answered, "Yeah, Daniel Cuthmore. First thing we did when we got back to town was check on him. Found him at Yavapai Regional. I pretended to be the air conditioning repair guy and snuck in. He was brought in already dead, but was resuscitated. Guy's likely gonna have brain damage, but he'll live. Luckily, his jaw was healed enough that he could talk a bit. Barely. A few more surgeries and he gets to go home. Turned out he was an old friend of Melissa's who'd recently moved back to town and tried to help when Al went missing. The guy might have had a crush on her, but no, he's more a puppy than Al. Even felt bad he couldn't shake my hand. Nothing was going on. Melissa never gave up hope he was coming home. Alex and Bennett held eyes with one another, as though communicating telepathically. The teacher's guilt was palpable.
What happened to you both was a tragedy,
Izaiah started.
Our worlds were never meant to collide, but sometimes choices other than our own determine the way things go. I owe you both apologies, for a lot. What I'm most sorry for was not warning you about your deaths. If I could go back and change it, I would. Hell, I'd take both your places if I had the power. I'd never been in a position like that before. Couldn't wrap my head around what I was supposed to do with the job and the information I was given. Humans have written enough books about time travel and tampering with it to scare me into second-guessing every step I took. Seriously, I never knew if I was altering the future or ensuring it. The Cirrus's visions are powerful, sometimes helpful, but she can only see so far up the road. Once you get there, things always seem different. Looking back is easy. We know where we've been. But up ahead, I wasn't positive your deaths would come to pass, so I tried to warn you instead, and did a half-assed job of it. Bennett, do you remember our talk in the alley behind this shop? We talked about choices, and I told you to lay off the booze. Just a little. And Alex, I know this won't help, but I spoke to him, the boy in the red hat, the one who shot you. His name was Lionel Trent, at least until he hung himself a month ago, when Ileana discovered his Eve crossing over. Just like Mason Ryan's, Lionel was disturbed and angry, with no outlet and nothing but time. Part of my job as a Medolian sentry is to prevent humans from reaching such extremes. But somehow, I've missed whatever this is, and it's rising. Scares me to think how many Masons or Lionels may be out there. I stopped paying attention to the details and spent too much time fighting to keep things afloat. Got a wake-up call I never knew I needed. Sad thing is it might have been too late. Looking into Mason's mind taught me more about the human condition than any of my years on Earth. And if I'm honest, what I saw chilled me to the bone. There was nothing resembling a feeling of home, or kindness, or joy in his heart. Nothing I would call a friend, or a desire for one, except you two, Alex and Bennett. You fellas were my only hope reaching that kid. But it turned out, even before we started, we were too late. Mason was gone. There was only Joseph.
Izaiah took a break to sip some water. This confession was turning out to be more of a marathon than he was expecting. And as usual, he was getting off topic.
I kept tried to keep you both out of harm's way entirely. I kept trying to force things, kept trying to fix them. Then I finally realized sometimes things just need to play out. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, has control. Which I'm sure must be disappointing to hear. Almost as disappointing as dying and meeting me instead of God. Turns out it's not just one death, or one level higher. In fact, it might be up quite a few levels, and might take a very long while before anyone truly understands what created all of this. Even Michael the Great, known for his boundless wisdom, was filled with childlike curiosity, left in the dark guessing what started life, just like the rest of us. Nobody knows it all, fellas, and anyone who claims otherwise should not be listened to.
Don't worry, said Bennett. I stopped looking for God a long time ago. I figure if he wants to talk, he knows where to find me. The soldier and Alex shared a glance. Alex shrugged. As far as the rest of it, forget it. We both just want to move on.
Really? Do you mean it? You don't hate me?
Izaiah asked, feeling his cheeks flush.
First a nickname, now this?
At the end of it all, reality is still here, Bennett said. Who knows what might have happened if things had gone any differently? Alex finished the second pitcher of water and gave Bennett a hard stare. Oh, right. Thank you, Bennett added. Al wants to know about Casey. Is she okay? And her friend, the professor. Have you seen or heard from them?
Yes, I meant to tell you,
Izaiah started.
Fabian went back to the cabin the day after Gehenna, but could not find Casey or Professor Evans. Snowmobile tracks led into a southern valley, but the snow had melted, and he lost the trail. He believes they made it safely to civilization. Said they had exchanged numbers, or some such. You'd have to ask him. But I'm sure wherever they are, they're well.
Bennett looked at Alex, who gave an approving nod, satisfied.
Wow, I think that about sums things up.
Izaiah wiped his hands with a paper napkin and adjusted his gray knitted cap, about to rise, when he suddenly remembered.
Oh, almost forgot. I have something for each of you.
Reaching into his coat, he produced Hannah's belt buckle, freshly polished to a crisp silver sheen. Hannah's buckle? You found it? Bennett exclaimed.
Tough old thing. You know she won it in a game of poker a few hundred years before Infurious? At least that's what she told me. Wore it all through the war. Even during the Battle of Cross Station, where she helped halt the Beast and Lucifer's army. Made him awful mad, let me tell ya. No one ever got under old Lucy's skin quite like Hannah. Yeah, this buckle's seen it all. When I found it, I knew I had to make sure it found a good home. So I gave it a wash and offered it to Mara. Strangely enough, she didn't want it. We both talked and decided who it should go to.
He slid it across the table to Bennett, who held still, eyeing the buckle. Then Izaiah. I don't understand. Why me? Bennett asked.
It belongs with a Rapture user.
I can't accept this. She hardly knew me.
No, Hannah cared about you more than you know. She would be glad to know you had it. And this is a rare gesture from Mara, which shouldn't be taken lightly. That buckle was meant for you. Who knows? It could even end up being your lucky charm.
Bennett took the buckle. I'm honored. His fingers grazed over the front. This symbol, the eye, I saw it in the Raytheon temple. The same symbol was smeared with blood on the walls of the town where we met Yuri, and I saw a woman with it tattooed on her neck in La Rose Noire. What does it mean?
The eye is the symbol of the Eve.
Izaiah told it just as his mentor had to him.
Many millennia ago, when the worlds of Unearth first became aware of one another, there was no common written language or tongue. When traveling to other worlds, banners, tattoos, and body markings showed one's allegiance. The eye, the one common element of all risen earthly creatures, was the key. If the top lid was thicker or accented with a higher shaded color, it signified they swore allegiance to the upper shades of Eve. If the lower lid was accented, they saw only the lower shades. But not all wanted war. Those who accented both lids indicated they witnessed all sides as equal and valid, necessary for life to thrive. It was only when the old realms discovered Earth, and with it the Medolians, a common language was born, and the first war for humanity began, 45,000 years ago, lasting nearly 6,000.
Hell of a war, Bennett said, mopping up the last of his meal.
Yes, my mentor, Basia Tulu Sawanse Ungul Melaria, created the first order of centuries, led the fight for balance, eventually joining Michael, the Celestials, Lucifer of Vale, and the forces of Highwind to expel the armies of Eros from Trivium.
Izaiah motioned at the buckle in Bennett's hand.
Hannah expelled herself from Highwind because she saw with both lids wide. She believed in the balance. Now, it's up to a new generation to carry on that mission.
Bennett pocketed the buckle with a nod. Thank you. Izaiah then turned to Alex.
But enough about old wars. Alex, my friend, you'll never guess what I found.
Reaching into his coat, he revealed a familiar blue baseball cap and set it on the table. It was scuffed, but had survived mostly intact.
Ta-da!
The hat sat on the table, untouched. Alex didn't budge. No thanks. Isaiah's grin drooped.
You don't want it?
No.
I don't understand.
Izaiah reached for the hat, then left it alone.
I thought you'd be happy to see it.
I said no, Alex said sharply.
Yikes.
Izaiah snatched the hat away and stuffed it back into his pocket.
Tell you what, I'll hold on to it for you. Just till you want it back. No pressure.
So, what happens now? Bennett asked, before a silence could linger.
I have a place lined up for you to stay in Trivium while you transition into your new lives. Gonna have to lay low for a while, you understand. If you come along, it'll be rough for a bit. Fair warning.
A place to stay? Like an apartment? Bennett asked. Or another safe house?
Somewhere in between, I think.
Feeling welcome and unearthed already, Bennett said dryly.
You should,
Izaiah said.
There are so many wonderful creatures to meet. So many new experiences to have. New foods. New places. New foods. We'll, of course, need to make up backstories for you fellas. No one can ever know you were the humans of the Joseph Mandate. The good news is Alex and Bennett are already becoming household names. The bad news is they must never be heard from again. So, you win some, you lose some. Shall we adjourn?
Bennett leaned back in his seat with a grunt, a man satisfied with his meal, folded his arms, and lifted an eyebrow at Izaiah. What do you say, Al? Should we give this old Medolian kook one last chance? Alex peered up from under the hood with a faint grin. Izaiah clapped, overjoyed.
Great!
With that, he slid out from behind the table.
let's head someplace less conspicuous. How about the alley?
What is it with you and alleys? Bennett asked, rising.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Izaiah stretched a little before they headed out, his joints sounding like bendable straws opening and closing. Once Amanda was paid for the meal.
With a little extra for being so kind to an old fool.
Izaiah, Bennett, and Alex started toward the rear exit.
I was working on some new material while I waited for you fellas,
Izaiah said.
Think I got some good stuff. You want to hear?
He took out his green notebook and flipped through the pages, hearing whispered groans and sensing eyes rolling behind their lids, but not caring.
World's not ending anymore. You got no excuse now. Too bad. You're listening.
He found the page.
Here we go. So, a milkman, a priest, and a barber walk into a bar. The bartender says, "Must be our lucky night. A baby boy was just born in our bathroom, and then you three walk in." The trio says, "Congrats on the kid, but what's that got to do with us?" The bartender says, "Well, now we can get him fed, blessed, and brist."
Izaiah waited.
Come on, nothing?
He'd worked too hard on that one to get nothing.
'Cause the barber is there, and a priest wouldn't.
No, yeah, Bennett said. I get it. As they reached the back door, a smile crept up Bennett's cheeks, and by the time they entered the alley, he was full-blown chuckling. Pretty good, he said.
Darn right.
Izaiah even swore he heard a raspy snicker from Alex.
I'm marking that one down as a success.
He tucked the pencil into his notebook, contented, and slid it into his coat's breast pocket, stepping toward an alcove out of view of the street. It felt odd being back where it all began, where he'd first told Alex and Bennett they were all but dead, and would be forced to join him on a harrowing quest across 2 planets to catch a renegade demon.
And somehow, it worked out. For now, anyway.
Feeling on a roll, Izaiah thought he would try one more.
Tell me what you think of this one. What's worse than biting into an apple and finding a worm inside?
I've heard this one, Bennett said.
Really? About finding a rotten orange?
Izaiah asked. Bennett raised an eyebrow. No, about finding half a worm. Izaiah considered him as he hoisted his emerald-topped cane and focused on their destination.
You're right. That's much better.
Ivory light overtook them as Izaiah filled with jubilee at the thought of his new nickname, and what the unknown future might hold for him and Alex and Bennett. Hardly able to contain his excitement, the old Medolian shifted them away, smiling ear to ear, feeling for the first time in however many tens of thousands of years he'd finally made human friends. The end.